welcome back. This will be my third and hopefully final video about my trip to Scotland. And so just to recap, in case you haven't seen those other two videos, I'll put a link to them in the description. Hopefully I'll remember to do that. But I did spend a day in Edinburgh, and then I got on a bus with Rabbie's Tours on a 3-night, 4-day tour across Scotland to the Isle of Skye and back to Edinburgh. And so my last video, my first video was about being in Edinburgh. My last video was taking us from Edinburgh over to Fort William. So as a preface, let me just say this again, that this tour is billed as a photography tour. I interpreted that more to be a photographer's tour, but it is a photography tour. So the idea of the tour is to take you to certain iconic spots that everybody likes to go to and everybody wants to see, and then they allow you some time outside of the van to go take some pictures. It does not allow you a lot of time to go take pictures. And so in the first day and a half, I had my camera bag with me, which was just basically my camera and a couple of lenses. And I also had my travel tripod, which I don't have handy to show you, but my travel tripod. And because I was sitting in the front of the bus, that had to go sort of up underneath the dash, and it was in everybody's way as they were getting on and off of the bus. So it became a major hassle once I realized that I wasn't going to have time to set up my tripod. I left it in the hotel room and depended on my Platypod. Turned out I left it at exactly the wrong time. But it is what it is. And so in this video, I just want to take you through a few of those spots that we traveled by, because they are spots that when I go back to Scotland with my family in 2024, these are spots we will explore in more depth. So one of the first things we did after we left Fort William, because we were going on our way to a ferry ride across to the Isle of Skye, and I've already shown this picture, I think, in a previous video, but we went by the Harry Potter Viaduct, the Glenfinnan, I think I called it Glenfiddich before, but the Glenfinnan Viaduct. Now, we were at the, basically the tourist stop with an information center, and it is the stop that any tour probably would stop at, because on one side of the road where we parked is the viaduct, and on the other side of the road is a bay and a lock that has particular historical significance based on certain battles that were fought in Scotland and those kinds of things. So it was a really nice stop. However, when you look at this picture of the viaduct, there is a parking place over here where the arrow is pointing, and then that view, that's where you get the curved look at this viaduct. It looks very straight and flat from where we are. When I go back in 2024, I'm going to go to that spot, and I want to see the viaduct from that area, and we'll have time to do that. So from there, because we didn't spend a lot of time there because we were on sort of a time crunch, we had a particular time to be on the ferry. And of course, when we got there, and our tour guide talked to the person who was directing traffic to get ready to board on the ferry, they had no record of us as a reservation. So, you know, it happens. And he did tell us that in 20 years of doing tours, this is the first time it's ever happened to him. And it wasn't a big deal. He just went inside, straightened it out, got us a ticket. We got on the ferry. We went across to the Isle of Skye. And this is really where the iconic places where I definitely wanted to go appeared. And there were 3. So first of all, we went to the ferry pools. Now, the ferry pools are just basically a series of waterfalls coming down out of a mountain. And there are mounds of dirt sort of around them where legend has it that the fairies live under the ground. And so we went from the car park. I'll put this picture up. You really can't tell what it is from looking here, but I'll put some arrows up on the screen to kind of guide your eyes. So down here in the lower right, there is a bridge, and people are going across the bridge. This is sort of the entrance into the ferry pool area. It's about a 10-minute walk. If you look back up here at the back, you will see the car park. And from the car park to that bridge is 9 or 10 minutes, and then you're sort of walking uphill into the ferry pools where you can take some pictures. But if you notice over here on the right, this little piece of trail right here, this is the trail that going back is almost up. I mean, it's uphill the entire way. I had to stop 3 times to catch my breath, and I was not alone. So it's a pretty steep climb, and we were warned about it by our tour guide that coming back we were going to be cussing him under our breath, and we pretty much did. But while I was there, this is the problem. I only had my Platypod, and so by having a Platypod, you're very limited in where you can set your tripod to get the pictures you want. And so I got a picture like this one, which has a lot of stuff around it, and it's not a very good angle. And if I'd have had a tripod, I could have gotten a little over to one side and sort of off the rocks, and I could have had a much better composition. What I wound up with, I didn't take a lot of pictures there because we didn't have a lot of time, but I did take this picture, and you'll see that there is a lady here in a blue coat with her tripod taking a picture of the area just above where I'm trying to take a picture. And so I knew that I didn't have time to wait on her to get out of the way. Thankfully, with Photoshop, it became this picture, where I can just kind of show the people over to one side, show the size of where I'm at, get some sense of scale. And so Photoshop is a photographer's dream. I took a few other pictures around. I'll throw them up at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. And then we went to the Qairaing. We didn't go straight there. We had some other little stops along the way, but the Qairaing is a trail up through the mountains along the coast, and it could take an hour or 2 hours to walk the trail and come back to the parking lot. We had 15 minutes. And so we walked sort of out to an area overlooking the bay, overlooking the loch. Took a few pictures, walked back to the van, but I did get some pictures that I really liked, and they were pictures that emphasized for me not only the grand scale of the place. If you look at this image right here, you'll see all these little white specks that ordinarily I would take, a healing brush and get rid of those, but those are sheep. So I left them in the picture. But you can get sort of some scale of what's going on, like this picture with the car on the road coming up the mountain. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot, and I look forward to going back when I can just walk and explore, because this whole trip was more of a scouting venture than anything else. And to be able to walk along the Qairaing would just be phenomenal. The other thing that was on my bucket list was the Old Man of Storr, and this was quite possibly my most disappointing place in the tour, because I had envisioned being able to walk the mountain to get, some type of really dramatic image of the Old Man of Storr. Instead, we wound up at a viewing spot along the side of the road, looking back up the hill. You can see it just fine, and with my 70-200 lens, I was able to get these pictures of the Old Man of Storr. And so seeing it was really cool, but I didn't really see it the way I had hoped to see it. And so I've already warned my family that when we go back in 2024, we will spend some time here, whether they like it or not. So we stayed on the Isle of Skye. We stayed 2 nights at Kyleakin. And the first night there, it was rainy, it was windy. I really couldn't go out. But the second night, as we were getting ready to come back to Edinburgh, we got back to the hotel just before sunset, and it was a beautiful day. And so I walked down to the castle there, the castle ruins there at Kyleakin. And, well, let me just take you there. I did get some video from there. Well, we have made it back to Kyleakin at the end of the day, and it is a little after 6:30, I believe. I don't have my phone out to look at it, but we're coming up on sunset. We're definitely in golden hour, which here is more like a blue hour. Let me turn around and show you what I've got going on here. So I am focused out here on this section of Castle Moil. I don't have any of the boats or the boat dock in the picture. I have more of the clouds up here in the sky. I'll try to get a video from my camera here when I'm done. I'm shooting with the 24-105. That has sort of been my go-to camera for this entire trip so far, is the 24-105. I have put the 15-35 on a couple of times. The 70-200 I've used a little bit, but because I really haven't had time to set up a tripod or anything else, it's more like a run and gun kind of shooting thing. So I've got my tripod set up. I've got this set on, I was at f11 and it was at 1/4 of a second. So I have my 10 stop on, which gives me an exposure of 4 minutes and about 16 seconds. I'm going to go just a little bit longer than that because, you know, the light is getting less and less as every minute goes by. So I'm probably going to do 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And hopefully I've got something. I really only have 1 or 2 shots at this to get it right. And right now I am almost done, so we'll see what we get. I'm at 4 minutes and 5 seconds right now. So I'll be back to show you what the picture looks like. So this is on the back of the camera, and I think that turned out exactly like I was hoping for. I'm going to try to take one more here before I get gone. Hopefully in the morning I can get out here and see if I can do a sunrise shot before we get back on the bus, if the weather cooperates. We'll see. So that sums up my trip. Now, you know, I may come back to some of these images later to talk about how they were edited or things, I don't know. But for right now, I thoroughly enjoyed my trip to Scotland. I thoroughly enjoyed Rabbie's tours. One of the greatest mistakes that I made was not, well, 2 mistakes. One was not getting a group picture of everyone there. Even though we didn't really spend a lot of time together, we were kind of all off in our little cliques. It would have been nice to have had a picture of all of us, and nobody thought to get that, including me. But the other thing that I wish I had done is to get a really good portrait of our tour guide. The only picture that I took that he's in is this picture right here, and he is the man in the kilt. His name is Ewan MacLeod, and he is a fantastic guide. And if you take a Rabbie's tour, you know, it's the luck of the draw who you're going to get as a tour guide. But if you get him, tell him Tim Childers remembers him. He won't remember me, you know. But I will never forget Ewan MacLeod. He was fantastic. So I put some links down in the description to the Flickr albums where all of these pictures are located. You're free to go by and look at those if you want to. And then we'll see you next week.
Let's take our time now. Nobody likes an avalanche when it's falling on best laid plans. And I wanna love you just like I did when I was young. For the world went and pulled out the rug. It was cold on the night you were born, but I kept you away from the storm. Wet like a sidewalk after a night of non-stop rain, but we slept through the whole damn thing. It was cold on the night you were born, but I kept you away from the storm. Put on a nice coat, sounds like it's really coming down. Wish like hell I could stick around. Tide swept the roses